Hello everyone. For my project, I decided to annotate when a neighbor knocked at my door, page 53. I think this is a very important chapter and also page. I'll start off by reading a few sentences and then describing them. Light is the most significant feature of your dream. This is a sign which should not be ignored. So I think light in this represents sight. Fatma snakes as well as Sajir snakes are blind, and in a way, Fatma is kind of blind herself. So the light of the dream allows her to achieve knowledge and liberation. Light is often used as a to symbolize seeing into the unknown. Without light, we humans could not see, nor could animals. It's how our eyes work. So light has been a very important part of culture. The next line I will look at is, in the light there lies your eventual triumph. As a queen who escaped from the empty pit you find yourself in. So despite Fatma's success, she was bitten by a snake, and she achieved some type of snake power. And she's able to look into the world of the snakes. She's able to have these esoteric kind of visions, in which she travels the world of the snakes and experiences a type of bliss. Despite all this, it's kind of a pit in a way. Um, it's the pit of the snake. And she's also in a situation in her real physical life in which she's married to a man who forces himself upon her, and is not kind to Fatma. So she's definitely in not a good situation in her physical life. So she kind of turns to this, we might say, fantasy world, in order to escape that, or as a means of empowering herself and experiencing some type of enlightenment through her visions. So the light of the dream will allow her to escape the empty pit. The light is a gift of sight and is promised to you and your blind subjects. So the next part I'm going to look at is the next paragraph. Along the way to your throne of ultimate vision and power, there is also much trouble and suffering. So that's a common theme, that people suffer on their way to greatness. You can look at any story, really. Hercules has to undergo his various trials from Hera in order to achieve immortality. So there's always some type of suffering that takes place within a story or movie, even within real life, I think. The next part I'm going to look at is, you will have loyal supporters who can carry you through. These supporters are her friends, such as the poet, or even someone who wants to be her lover, such as the prince, Tare. But also her subjects, I think, are her snakes, who kind of respond to her thoughts and feelings. She's very connected to them, and they're very much a part of her journey. On the, not the next paragraph, but the next paragraph at the back, it says, keep moving, Nor said in a soothing voice. Never look back, or your wings will disappear. So I think that this represents the looking back, the doubting oneself, because we look back when we're unsure of ourselves, or sometimes to kind of see where we've been and where we're going. So there's a story in the Bible of Sodom and Gomorrah, and the wife of the man who was told to leave the city before it was destroyed was told not to look back at the city, and his wife looks back and is turned to a pillar of salt. So this is a common theme in mythology. It's like when you look back, you see how far you've come, and you kind of doubt yourself, like, how did I come this far? You may see darkness or the trials you've overcome, and so that causes her to lose her wings, which is how she's emerging from this pit through the dreams. It is also an invitation to journey into the invisible. Those who dance its tune lead the march of the dead on their way down to the road of darkness. So you, Fatma, have been chosen. or not to join the dance. So I think the dance represents the normal human experience in which we dance through our lives and we experience pain and happiness and all these things, but eventually it leads to death. And Fatma is kind of destined for something greater um, through her subjects such as Noor, her snakes, her visions. She's being bred to, or being designed or led towards some type of spiritual liberation in which she becomes something more than human and is able to become immortal, as we see at the end of the book, where she turns into the snake and eventually battles the big demon snake and defeats him in battle. And she goes and becomes immortal. And then the last part I'm gonna look at is when Nora's telling her, he says, Fatma couldn't be sure if Nora was being serious or teasing her with melodrama. She went along with his playful profundities without troubling herself what he really had in mind. All she cared about was his attention. So I think this illustrates how Fatma is kind of starved for attention, other human attention. All she really sought the shadow out for a companion, someone as a guide. She doesn't have much communication for the outside world. She's kind of isolated. So the shadow is her conversation, her stimulation, and she she's not she's concerned about what's going to happen to her, but she's not going to worry about it in this moment because she's enjoying the conversation. Then she goes, "This is like a fairy tale," she whispered, "not a serious warning." So maybe she's in her head. She's thinking, what do you mean? I'm gonna become immortal. I'm gonna lose my wings. The angel's looking out for me. What does this all mean? And she's kind of taking it as a fairy tale, as something not real, in order to cope with it. And I think that's pretty normal. I think that people do this quite a bit when faced with something that's really big. They treat it like it's not a big deal, like it's not even real, and then they approach it little by little, step by step, in order to overcome it. So this is my uh, interpretation of this page. I hope you all enjoyed it, and have a good day.